wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome to the second episode of Question Time, a brand new series organized by Majlis Qudan of the United Kingdom, aimed at answering all of your questions and queries. Over the course of the next month, Question Time, the Ramadan special, will inshallah be live every Thursday evening between 6:45 and 7:45 to answer and elaborate on any questions and queries that you might have. Send in your questions as text, audio, or video via WhatsApp, email, or socials, and our panel of respected missionaries will inshallah answer them live on the show. Joining me today are, of course, our very well-known faces. First, we have Mansoor Ziasab, a professor of Jamia Ahmadiyya, United Kingdom, with a postgraduate specialization in jurisprudence. And with him, we have Shazad Ahmed Sab, the associate editor of the Review of Religions. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining me. So let's, if we go straight into our first question, of course, there's lots and lots of questions that come in. Of course, last week as well, we were unable to handle and deal with all the questions, but we'll try our best to get through them nevertheless today as well. If we go to our first question, which is has been sent in audio form via a Khadim, let's have a listen to what the Khadim has to say.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम सर। सर मेरा एक क्वेश्चन है कि हम रमज़ान में ही ज़कात क्यों देते हैं, दूसरों मंथ में ज़कात क्यों नहीं दे सकते?
That's a really interesting question. So, of course, for our English speakers at home, the question is that why is it that is it true that we have to give our zakat only in Ramadan? Can we give it in other months as well? And if so, why and what is the ruling behind this? Shazad Sahab, could you shed some light on this, please?
Yeah, Jazakallah. So it's a very important question that our brother asks. Just to give a little bit more information about zakat for the benefit of our Qudan brothers, is that zakat is an extremely important teaching of Islam, and in fact, it's one of the pillars of Islam. And essentially, what zakat is that it is the wealth or any other assets that someone has, whether it's cash, gold, or silver, which is as part of their saving and is unused for an entire year. 2.5% of that is taken, and which is then contributed towards zakat. And I think the philosophy behind that essentially is that Islam recognizes the fact that the flow of money and the flow of cash within society is extremely essential for the balance of a healthy society. It's almost akin to the lifeblood of the community for having circulation of wealth. Islam gets rid of the habit of hoarding wealth, particularly when there are individuals within a society who will be going hungry and in need of wealth. So essentially, that is what zakat is. And as I mentioned, that it's that wealth which has been kept with someone as part of their saving for an entire year. So it's quite possible that that cash could have, or that asset could have come at any part of the year. And once the entire year has gone past, that's when the zakat becomes applicable. So it's not necessarily that zakat has to be, or is only to be paid during the month of Ramadan. So it can be paid at any time of the year when when it becomes applicable, i.e. when a year has passed on that particular wealth. Having said that, during this month of Ramadan, when we are so much more inclined towards doing good, and our focus is towards righteous deeds, and among them is spending in the way of Allah the Almighty, as a community, we remind our members of this very important obligation as well, that they should be mindful of this as well. And as we also know from the hadith of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, that the good deeds which are done during the month of Ramadan have a manifold blessing and manifold reward from Allah the Almighty. So if someone knows that they are due to pay zakat on their wealth in the coming months, and they wish to pay it during the month of Ramadan and avail from the blessings of Ramadan, then they can do so. There is no harm in doing that. But as I mentioned as well, that zakat obviously is not applicable upon everyone. It's only on the wealth that you have with you for an entire year that is unused. And even then, there is a minimum threshold, which is known as nisab, that is required for an individual to meet for them to be eligible for zakat. But having said that, we find in the life of the Holy Prophet ﷺ and the companions and throughout, where other than zakat, they gave financial contributions in the way of Allah the Almighty for various projects, schemes, and initiatives.
Jazakallah, thank you very much. So I think that's the key there is then that it is not compulsory to give it in the month of Ramadan, but of course, if you wish to do so for the extra blessings, then there is no harm in doing so as well. I think it's a very key thing to remember. I think, especially in the month of Ramadan, we often do things which we do all year round, but do it more so in Ramadan just for the sake of earning just that little bit of extra blessings. Jazakallah, thank you very much, Rabbi Sahib. The second question that we have is coming to us from Huddersfield, which is from Tariq Mahmood Saab. And he's talking about lockdown and the permissibility of buying certain things. Ziyasa, we'll come to you with this, but let's have a little listen to what Tariq Mahmood Saab has to say.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम सर। सर मेरा एक क्वेश्चन है कि हम रमज़ान में ही ज़कात क्यों देते हैं, दूसरों मंथ में ज़कात क्यों नहीं दे सकते?
So I think brilliant. That's the first question that we've answered already. That's a good recap as well. That was the question as to why do we give zakat only in the month of Ramadan. A brilliant answer by Shahzad Sahab already on that. We're going to come now to the second question, which is from Tariq Mahmood Saab from Huddersfield. He is asking, as we're in lockdown, we're providing shopping assistance. One of the items that's often being requested is things like bacon or alcohol, so pig products or alcohol, which of course is not permissible to Muslims. Are we allowed to purchase items like this? Mansoor Ziyasab, if you could shed some light on this, please.
Jazakallah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Actually, if we look at the Holy Quran, we will find the verse that forbid eating of the pig and its meat and bacon, everything. So Allah Ta'ala says that this is rijsan, this is impure, so we cannot eat that. So, but in different situation, for example, when a person is dying from hunger, so it is permissible, it will be permissible. And if a person has nothing to eat and he's about to die or his children is about to die, definitely Quran give permission to that person that you can give them the food. So as for this, this is, this scenario is concerned that the people are in lockdown, they are staying at home, they are asking, they are ordering, and as a member of Khuddam, as Khuddam, our Khuddam al-Ahmadiyya, we are helping them, we are bringing some foods to them. So this scenario has been discussed there is a similar example, you can say. I have all that thing. Once a person from Germany asked the Huzur Anwar Ayyadullah Ta'ala about this, and he asked that I work in a firm and I have bought my truck, and I want my truck and my delivery van to deliver a meat into different areas, but I have given them permission to to take and deliver these meat wherever they want. But sometimes what happens that they also put in my truck the bacon, the meat of the flesh of a swine. So he asked that should I avoid this one or not, or am I allowed to do this business or not? So Huzur Ayyadullah Ta'ala bin Aziz made a very beautiful answer. He gave very beautiful answer. He said that the thing is that as I have told you in the beginning, that in the verse Allah Ta'ala says that if a person is drawn towards it and he has no other option, then he can eat that pig. Huzur said that swine is allowed in some circumstances, in some situation. So Huzur said, although you are not giving your delivery van just for this purpose, you are giving your delivery van just to just transport the meat from one shop to another. So basic thing is that you are not giving for the sole purpose of it. So this would be allowed for you. So, and Huzur also said that we should not go into deep and intricate details, that we should ask each and everything about this. that it is Quran, as in Quran says that La tasalu an ashya in tubda lakum tasukum, that do not go on asking each and everything. So Huzur said that when we are living in Europe, we are living here in UK, so it will be unavoidable for us in some circumstances. So this is okay. But as for, so if we just take this an example, and the same question as has been asked, that if you deliver this, because you are not delivering only this bacon, you are delivering other things along with this. Is bacon is there, and you deliver it to them, and you are not definitely not eating it, not serving it, not presenting in front of them to eat. So I mean, in a way that you are not working in a hotel. So that would be a completely different scenario. And but in this you are only delivering, so it will be permissible. But the other part is sometimes they also ask that alcohol should be delivered. So in this there is a hadith that tells us that if they demand alcohol, then you should not give that alcohol to them. So I would just say that as far the bacon is concerned, Quran says that in certain circumstances it is allowed, but alcohol, it is not permissible in any circumstances or in any situation. So if they ask this, so you can just simply say that this is the guidance according to hadith, we cannot deliver to you. So I mean, you can order something else, we will be there to offer our service, but not.
And I think, especially in the day-to-day as well, this is something which many people are aware of, the fact that, of course, Muslims don't drink alcohol and they dislike alcohol, and something which can quite easily be said as well. And I think especially in today's day and age where so much work is being carried out, as you quite rightly said, by Khuddam al-Amdiya and other organizations, then it is not a problem to be able to say this. Of course, we are there to support and to help in everything, and hikmat and logic should be used in all cases as well. Jazakallah, thank you very much, Mawisa. That's a very comprehensive answer. We'll move forward. Actually, Mawisa, staying with you. There's a question. This is one that comes up in every Ramadan as well. And it's you. We're asking the question quite early on in Ramadan, but it's something which usually asked a little bit later. The question is, if the 27th night of fasting, coincides with a Friday, so it's on a Friday and it's the 27th night, does it definitely mean that that night will be Laylatul Qadr? Mawisa, could you shine some light on this, please?
Jazakallah. This is, it is mentioned in hadith that once Holy Prophet ﷺ was revealed by Allah the Almighty that this certain night is Laylatul Qadr. So he went out to inform people and to inform his companions. But what happened that when he came out, he saw two people. They are quarreling with each other, having an arguments. So Holy Prophet ﷺ went to them and calmed them that do not fight and this something. But after that, when he came back and he wanted to tell people that which is the night, so he said, I was coming out and I came out just to tell you about that night, particular night, and Allah Ta'ala told me. But when I saw them making an argument, so I just forgot everything that which is the night. So then he said that it might be good for you because maybe Allah doesn't want you to know that this is a certain night that you should only worship. And then he said there are 10 days, 10 last days of Ramadan. You should struggle hard in the odd number of nights. In the odd nights, last Ramadan, last 10 days, 21, 23, 25, 27, and 29. These are the odd numbers of night during the month of Ramadan. So this is this has been explained to him, explained to all our companions, all the companions of the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. But there are other narrations that also tells that once Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam had the experience of Laylatul Qadr, and this was in 21st of Ramadan. And sometimes it says that he had the experience in 25th of Ramadan. And sometimes it says that Holy Prophet ﷺ had the experience on 27th of Ramadan. So there are different experiences that Holy Prophet ﷺ and his companions had. So this tells us that maybe it could come in 21, maybe it could come in 25, maybe it could come in 27. And in some particular Ramadan, it came in 21 also. So then there is another scenario that for everyone, there is a different night, maybe in Ramadan. For example, for me, it could be 21 or 25, and for you or for anyone else, it could be 27 and 25 also. But the thing is that Holy Prophet ﷺ has told us that we need to struggle in these last 10 days. So he has not ascribed only just precisely one night. So for us, it is easy to understand. But I would also like to say that Hazrat Masih Maud al-Islam, he has experienced and he has told people that when there is night of 27 and there is a Friday, then definitely it is the night of Laylatul Qadr. So, and also other saint person and religious person, they have also shared their experience, and they came to the conclusion that on 27th, there is definitely Allah's blessing descend with abundantly. So Hazrat Khalifatul Masih Rabi Rahimullah Ta'ala has explained this also. Huzur said that it is narrated that most experience was on 27th day of Ramadan. Okay. So I can say, Huzur said that I can say that on 27th we should struggle more in worship than usual days. So definitely we should struggle in last of 10 days, but if there is 27th day as 27th night and Friday, they both coincides, they come together, then definitely we should struggle hard in these days.
Jazakallah, Jazakallah. I think it's a logical thing and a spiritual thing as well, that you are struggling in these last 10 days, and it is where God's mercy is being descended even more so. But the fact is that you cannot say that other than these days, God's mercy does not descend, and that you cannot have your prayers accepted on another day. So if we were to specify that only one day is the day where God's mercy can descend, it would mean that everyone else becomes lax in the other days. So of course, I think it's a very important thing that Rabbi Sahib has said, that we should be endeavoring every day of the year, and then even more in the last 10 days, and then even more than that on the odd days, on the odd nights as well. So I think it's a very important thing. It's not that we should endeavor on the odd nights and then become lax in the other nights, because God's mercy and God's acceptance can come at any time. So Jazakallah, Rabbi Sahib, that's a very, very important point. Thank you. We're going to our next question, which is from Sadiq Ayub Sab in Huddersfield. And Shazad Sab, we're going to come to you for this. It's a really, really important one because we've always heard this hadith, but I won't put words in Sadiq Sab's mouth. Let's listen to what Sadiq Ayub Sab has to say. I think we're having some slight technical difficulties. What we'll do is, for now, we have all of the questions that have been sent in by our respected guests, and we will try to get the media played to you as well. But for the time being, we'll go on with the question. The question is that I am the reward of the one who is fasting. This is a very common hadith. It's a hadith Qudsi. Shahzad Sab, it's a strange one, because don't we do everything for the sake of Allah? So what does it mean when it says, I am the reward of the one who is fasting? Is fasting different to all the other pious deeds that we do?
Jazakallah. I think it's a very important hadith. It's a very beautiful hadith as well. The whole hadith is that the Holy Prophet has related that Allah might says that all the actions, that all the deeds that one does, the son of Adam does, is for himself, and the act of fasting is solely done for the sake of Allah the Almighty. Allah the Almighty Himself becomes the reward for it. So what does it mean by that Allah the Almighty becomes the reward? By specifically mentioning fasting here, Allah the Almighty has, specially mentioned the excellence of fasting and the virtue of this particular form of worship. If we look at another hadith, it helps us better understand this as well, in which the Holy Prophet ﷺ once stated that the believer experiences two kinds of joy. One is when he opens the fast at the time of iftari, and the second is when he meets his Lord. Now, this meeting of his Lord and meeting his Creator is not just something that he experiences in the hereafter. Of course, that is also going to be where he has communion with the Almighty and sees his Lord and experiences that delight and joy. But we also are able to establish, and that's the purpose of our lives, to establish a living relationship and develop communion with Allah the Almighty in this world as well. And we experience the delight of our relationship with Allah the Almighty and communion with Him in this world through, as we were just mentioning, that Allah the Almighty bestows His mercy, is through the acceptance of prayers, is through experience, through visions and dreams. That's how we establish a living relationship with Allah the Almighty. And we can testify ourselves that we have experienced a living God. And fasting in this regard plays a very, very important role. The promised Messiah والسلام, whilst expounding on the deeper philosophy in regards to worship of the Salat and fasting, Hazur ﷺ explains that where Salat is a form of prayer where the soul melts and creates a sensation of utmost humility and sincerity before your Lord. On the other hand, fasting is a form of worship which illuminates the heart and purifies it and fosters the ability of experiencing visions and dreams and enhances your spiritual faculties to do this. And many pious saints and prophets of Allah have gone through this form of spiritual exercise, i.e. through fasting, and experienced these visions and dreams. So through this form of worship, i.e. through fasting, it illuminates us and enables us to sharpen those faculties and experience visions and dreams. And that is also a way, as I said, of establishing a relationship, a living relationship with Allah the Almighty and having communion with Him. So it can be also understood in this regard as well, where Allah the Almighty says that He becomes the reward, that one experiences Allah the Almighty during this month of Ramadan, becomes so close to Him through his fasting, because fasting is not just abstaining from food and water. As we mentioned in the last program as well, it's a spiritual exercise. It's where we enhance in all our good spiritual deeds as well. And through all different means, we try to attain nearness with Allah the Almighty. And then, as you have mentioned as well, in reference to the last question, Suziyasab explained so beautifully that, for instance, Laylatul Qadr, that's where the night which is described is better than 1,000 nights, because that's the night where we have communion and establish a stronger relationship with Allah the Almighty and experience His rewards and blessings. So this is the meaning, the deeper meaning of this hadith. One aspect of it, where Allah the Almighty Himself becomes the reward of this form of worship.
Jazakallah, thank you for that very, very comprehensive answer. And again, it's a beautiful thing for us to remember that this concept of Laylatul Qadr being better than 1,000 months, it's interesting, because when we've looked at this in particular, we understand that this actually is approximately the lifespan of a human being. So it's saying that the acceptance of your prayers of that one night is the fulfillment of the purpose of your entire life. So that one night is more important than the whole of your being, which is something very, very important. Jazakallah, so thank you for that very, very intricate answer. Mansoor Shahzad, we're going to come back to you for another explanation on a small hadith, which is another very common one. But just before we do that, Mansoor Shahzad, we have spoken already about zakat and about other monetary contributions and how people spend more in the month of Ramadan. But we have a lot of other names that get fired around. And the question here mentions Fitrana. What is Fitrana and what is the need for Eid fund? I mean, there's so many different names. We have Fidya, Fitrana, Eid fund. And a lot of questions come in asking us, what is the difference between these and what is the need for them?
Jazakallah. I will start with the Fitrana because it was asked firstly. Fitrana, basically, it is when a person is in the month of Ramadan. So it has been compulsory. It has been made compulsory by the Holy Prophet himself, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that every person, whether he is earning or not, a newborn baby, or any woman, or rich, poor, old, young, everyone should pay fitrana, and that is what is, I mean, how much it should be paid. He said it should be paid 1 sa. It is actually sa. It is you can say it is equal to 3 kilo of food. So it should be paid 3 kilo of food, and in here in London, in UK, it has been set £2 per person. So £2 per person should be paid, and it should be paid before Salatul Eid, before Eid prayer. And if you pay this fitrana after Eid prayer, it would not be considered a fitrana. It would be simply considered a sadaqah, a charity. But this charity, that is only related to Eid. So when a person pay fitrana, it means that he is paying it just for the sake of Allah the Almighty, and for those people who are in need, and they should also, and who are deprived, the people who are in need and people who are poor, they are deprived of very basic means of living. So this fitrana would help them also to celebrate the Eid and happiness of, they will also be including the happiness of Eid also. So this should be paid to them, and it should be paid before Eid. But as far as Eid fund is concerned, this has been started by Hazrat Promised Messiah والسلام, himself. He said that you have made a strong pledge that I will give precedence to faith over all my worldly desires. So he said, when you have made this pledge, so on Eid, you spend a lot of money on yourself, on your clothing, on your food, on your having fun, all these things. So during this, do not forget Allah the Almighty. Make a separate part for Him, because today Islam is in need of, Islam is poor actually. So you need to support Islam by giving your funds to support Islam. So he said that every earning member should pay Eid fund during Eid. So it will display, or it will depict a picture that a person is loyal to Allah the Almighty. He is not forgetting Allah the Almighty, even when everyone is celebrating, everyone is having fun, but still they remember Allah the Almighty on this very day. So it is the difference between Fitrana and Eid fund is that Fitrana is obligatory upon every person, whether earning or not, even on the base also. But Eid fund is only compulsory for the people who earn, only the earning member of a house, of a home. So and others are exempted from it. So this is the difference between Eid fund and Fitrana.
Jazakallah. So thank you very much. I mean, we've spoken about fidya in the previous episode as well. So of course, if anyone wants to find out more about fidya, they can find out from there. But in brief, it is an expiation for those that cannot fast. But of course, you can give fidya in addition to the fast for the blessings as well. I think, again, a very, very concise explanation whereby the fitrana is compulsory upon everyone, regardless of whether you're working, old or young. And the Eid fund is compulsory upon the working members. So again, a very, very concise explanation, Jazakallah. Thank you very much. Shahzad Saab, coming back to yourself, we've had explanations of the various different ahadiths and the different sayings of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. One really, really common one, which we've been hearing since we've been growing up really, is the hadith that says, Satan is shackled in chains during Ramadan. Now, I mean, this has conjured up nightmares and dreams, I know, for loads of different kinds of people. What does it even mean, and how does it apply to us as Muslims?
Yeah, Jazakallah. So I think it's very important for us to understand the concept of Satan. If we take Satan to be in a literal sense as a person, then perhaps we could give it a literal meaning and say that it's quite physically bound in shackles. But essentially, what is Satan? Satan actually is attached to every person. And what does Satan do? It incites you and it influences you to do bad, commit sin. So during the month of Ramadan, the Holy Prophet ﷺ said that the doors of heaven are open wide and the doors of hell are shut, and Satan is shackled in chains. Now, if we look at the month of Ramadan, it's such a blessed month, and it's almost akin to seeing it like an intensive period of spiritual training. Alongside with us fasting, it's not, as I said, abstaining from food and drink, but we are even more focused towards performing all kinds of righteous deeds during this month. The Holy Prophet ﷺ said that performing good deeds in this month, as we mentioned in the earlier discussion, was that it has manifold blessings. So we are always in search of finding so many different good deeds. In the last program, we mentioned that Khuddam were asking, for instance, how they could finish the entire Quran in the month of Ramadan. So we can naturally see that our focus is towards how we can undertake so many different pious deeds within our day-to-day lives during this particular month of Ramadan, whether it be paying charity, whether it be offering nawafil, whether it's reading the Quran, whether it's even listening to and watching MTA and listening to the Darsul Quran of our beloved Imam. So when all of these activities have suddenly increased during this month, we have less time to be engaged or to fall under the trap of Satan in committing any kind of immoralities or any ill deeds. So that is what it means, that the opportunities that Satan could have, which is, as I said, is run through the veins of the blood of every person, the opportunities for him to influence someone and overcome them through the inner passions is limited, especially through our fasting, because we are from sunrise till sunset, we are fasting, we are abstaining from food and drink, which is we are enduring and going through a great hardship. So to protect that fast, we abstain from all kinds of other ills as well.
I see.
So naturally, the opportunities that one could have to incite us towards evil naturally are limited, and we are more focused towards doing good. And that is what it means, that the doors of heaven are open wide and the doors of hell are shut, and Satan is shackled.
Jazakallah, thank you very much. That's a very logical answer. I think it helps a lot of people understand this concept a lot better. Again, just to remind everyone viewing in from home, or if you're watching this later on the stream, send in your messages and your comments and your queries. Send them through to us. They can be Ramadan related, or they can be general questions that you'd like our panel of missionaries to answer. Send them in. You can send them in on WhatsApp, and you should be able to see the details of where to send it on the bottom of your screen. You can send them in via WhatsApp, on email, or on Instagram at MKA_education. Send in your comments and your queries, and hopefully, inshallah, we'll get through to answering them. Mansoor Yasab, there is a common question which is often asked, and I think you will have come across this many times. Obviously, people, when they are fasting, they wish to adhere by the rules of the fast, and they never want to do anything, either knowing or unknowing, that might break the fast. But a question that often comes up repeatedly is in regards to putting deodorant on and brushing your teeth with toothpaste while fasting. Is there anything wrong with this, and does it possibly break the fast?
Jazakallah. Actually, this is a very common question, as you have said, that people ask a lot about about the toothpaste also, because it is a regular practice. Although this deodorant question, it is, you can say, the first time I have been asked about this deodorant question. And actually, I will start with this deodorant question, because some people think that when you put deodorant or any perfume, it would go into your lungs and you will inhale it basically. So, and it could break fast, but actually it doesn't break fast, because anything you are taking as a food or as a medicine, that takes you that break your fast. But anything that is other than that, it definitely does not break your fast, because when you are passing by a place where there is smoke is coming, for example, and smoke go into your lungs. So would it break your fast? Definitely not. So this is just like that, because you are, even if it goes into your lungs, it doesn't break your fast at all. And the second thing that has been asked very many times that is about the toothpaste or using or brushing one's teeth. So if we look at the example of the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, we'll come to know that he would brush his teeth. He would take a twig, for example, twig from a tree or a branch from a tree, and then he would clean his tooth many times. And as Aisha Raziyallahu Ta'ala Anha used to say that during Ramadan, during the months of Ramadan, I cannot even count that how many times he would clean his teeth and brush his teeth. So, but with that miswak in Arabic or in Urdu we say miswak, basically, and that branch of a tree, it has certain taste in it, and it has some certain, you can say, certain fluid in it, and it also have some taste also. So it definitely touches your tongue and your taste buds also. It affects that. So if we take this an example, so we'll come to know also that toothpaste have a taste, but it is just like the miswak or just like the branch of a tree, that it also has taste. So it is allowed that we can do miswak and we can do toothbrush. We can brush our teeth during the Ramadan, during Roza, during our fasting, but we should keep in mind that it should not go into our throat or under our throat, because in this way it can break our fast. But if you just you rinse it out, then it's okay. But if you don't rinse it out, then it goes into your throat, then it could, but otherwise it cannot break your fast.
I see. Jazakumullah. I think also that's a very important thing to remember, that of course innamal a'malu binniyat, that deeds are judged by motives. And also here we understand that things that are, for example, the doing of the miswak or the using of the toothbrush, if it's done for the purpose of hygiene, it's different. I know many people, however, have raised the question that if using toothpaste is okay, then surely then having chewing gum is okay as well. But of course, chewing gum is not there for the purpose of hygiene. It is a completely different thing. So again, the use of the toothbrush with toothpaste is okay if it's for hygienic purposes, and as long as you don't swallow the toothpaste, which obviously will have a nourishing effect as well. So again, Jazakumullah, thank you very much for that, Nabi Sahib. We come to our next question, which is, this is more of a philosophical one, Shazad Sahib. Shazad Sahib, I think if you could please shine some light on this. The question is from the question's come in from an asker, is that he's saying, or indeed she might be saying, I feel that I am only fasting to show people and not for God. So what shall I do? Could you give any advice to the person asking this question?
I think it's a very, very important question, and I'm glad that our brother or sister has asked this question. I think this question doesn't just apply to fasting. It's not just to fasting. In fact, it's to every form of worship that we engage in. Our intention should be that is all purely and solely done to attain the pleasure of Allah the Almighty and to attain closeness to Allah the Almighty. In fact, we find in the Holy Quran where Allah the Almighty speaks about those who perform the Salat and are unmindful of their Salat and only do so to show others. And regarding them, Allah has expressed His displeasure. Now, this doesn't just apply, even if we look at it from a worldly perspective as well. Anything that we do always has an objective to it. And if the objective of that is futile and is not serving any purpose, we would never do it. Similarly, we go through this hardship of fasting, we go through the Salat, we give charity. If we are doing it just to show others, we will not be deriving any benefit, any spirit, because these are all spiritual acts that are essentially there for us to establish a relationship with Allah the Almighty. And in return, we experience a delight, a pleasure as a result of doing it. When we are doing it to show others, one, we deprive ourselves from the blessings, and we also deprive ourselves from experiencing that pleasure and delight, which we do if we were doing it solely for the purpose and objective of attaining the nearness to Allah the Almighty. And that's why it's very, very important that, as we were discussing in the previous program as well, why it's so important that we develop a deeper understanding of the Holy Quran and understand the true meaning and significance of philosophy of the penance and practices and obligations that Allah the Almighty has mentioned in the Holy Quran. Otherwise, all these injunctions, we will merely be following them in a superficial manner and as customary practice. Zuhr in his Ayyadullah Ta'ala bin Asr al-Aziz in his Friday sermon right at the beginning of this month of Ramadan mentioned something very beautiful, and he said that it's extremely important that we study the deeper philosophy of the injunctions that are found in the Holy Quran. Because once you do that, then you understand its true purpose, and then you perform it with its true essence as well, and try to achieve its objective. Otherwise, this becomes a very, very hollow and shallow practice. And that is why sometimes we very quickly get tired of that as well, because we are not deriving any pleasure from it. But in fact, when we perform these various forms of worship, the direct and natural consequence of it is that we experience a form of spiritual delight, which kind of spurs us on to continue doing even more and motivates us to continue doing more. When it's only done for the sake of other people, as I said, that we won't be experiencing that pleasure, that delight. We will get tired of it very quickly. And especially if we are doing it for others, then of course, not only are we doing it for the sake of God, but we will be incurring the displeasure of Allah the Almighty as well.
Jazakallah, thank you very much for that, Rabbi Sab, a very comprehensive answer as well. I want to, at some point, come on to talk about Salat al-Tasbih and also Salat al-Duha, which are two very different concepts. And we will come to speaking about that perhaps in this show or in a show to come. Of course, it will require a slightly more comprehensive answer. But a question, Mansoor Ziyasab, which I would like to ask you, is something which many people face, of course, not right now, because we're in lockdown and many people aren't even leaving their homes right now. But nevertheless, it's important for our knowledge. The question has come from a khadim that if a person commutes to a different city for work, is he allowed to keep a fast, or would that be counted as safar? So, what would be the ruling in this situation?
Actually, if we consider about the traveling, Islam says that in Holy Quran, Allah Ta'ala has mentioned very clearly that any person who is in a state of traveling, he should not fast. So, Promised Messiah Islam has explained it beautifully in his writings. He said the person whose job is to travel from place to place, this job of traveling would not be considered a traveling on his behalf. And in this way, he have to fast and he have to complete his fast during this job also. But traveling means a person particularly go to a place and with the intention of traveling, and then it will be considered the traveling according to the Holy Quran. And he mentioned that ones who go from town to town or place to place and travels all day, it is his job, so he should fast during those days.
Okay, Jazakumullah, thank you very much, Mubisab, for that concise answer. Mubisab, I'm going to stay with you because I want a slightly longer answer on a different question. Salat al-Tasbih is something which many people have heard of and many people have practiced in their life. But what is the purpose of it? What is it, and what is the correct time and way of performing it?
Firstly, I will explain that what is Salatul Tasbih. Then I will be able to tell that how it should be. Is it permissible or not? First of all, I will just want to say that what is Salatul Tasbih. We don't find any trace of Salatul Tasbih in Bukhari, Muslim, or Muwatta Imam Malik. We don't find any trace of it in these. But in other books of Siyah Sitta, we do find some trace of it. But these are the weak narrations. So, Holy Prophet, according to these narrations, Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam once called Hazrat Abbas, who was his uncle. Hazur asked that, Abbas, I'm going to tell you a very beautiful thing, and you have to do during this day. It will give you, you will be forgiven forever if you do this. And he said that the way is that you will offer 4 rakat And first in one rakat, after reading Surah Fatiha and the part of the Holy Quran, after reading that, you will recite 15 times these you can say these words. And those words are Subhanallah, walhamdulillah, wa la ilaha illallah, wallahu akbar. You will, before going into ruku, you will read them 15 times. And when you will go into ruku, you will read them 10 times. And when you stand from the ruku in comma, then you will read these wordings 10 times again. And then you go into sajda, you will read them 10 times again. And when you sit between two sajdas, then again you will read it 10 times. And then you go into another sajda, then you will read it 10 times. And then when you get up from sajda, before standing, you will read it 10 times. So in one rakat, you are going to say these wordings, Subhanallah, walhamdulillah, wa la ilaha illallah, wallahu akbar, 75 times. And you are going to count each and everything, that how many times you have read. And you will do the same things in all those 4 rakat. And it will be 300 times in total. So the narration says that Hazrat Abbas, that it was told to Hazrat Abbas that you need to do it every day. If you can't do it every day, then do it once a week. If you can't do once a week, then once a month. And if you can't do once a month, then once a year. And if you are not able to do it once a year, then once in your lifetime. So this is that whole narration. And you will get a lot of reward. So I would like to say that the thing that Holy Prophet himself has never done it. There's not a single narration that tells us that Holy Prophet ﷺ has ever done in his lifetime. So how is it possible that Holy Prophet ﷺ, who was very eager to do worship every time, and he was very humble and doing a lot of worship, reading a lot of tahajjud prayer also, he has never done this prayer in whole lifetime. So how is it possible that he is not doing himself, but he's telling and advising other people to do it once in their lifetime? It's not possible. So that's why we say that this is a weak narration, and that's why Hazrat Khalifatul Masih Rabi Rahimahullah Ta'ala, he has also explained that this, as we heard, the Salatul Tasbih is, sometimes people offer. So this is not practice of the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So another thing, if we want to understand it from another aspect, that how can you count all these things? Your whole, intention would be diverted to just counting Subhanallah, walhamdulillah, wa la ilaha illallah, wallahu akbar, and you won't be concentrating on your dua, on your prayer. So that's why it is not the practice of the Holy Prophet ﷺ. That's why we do not encourage people to read this Salatul Tasbih.
So actually then people that are asking when to do it, how to do it, what they should do, the correct practice, the simple answer to all of these questions is simply that it is not an encouraged thing. Of course, people do, you should do tasbih separately after namaz, as was the sunnah and as was the way taught to us, but to almost force it into every part of the namaz is not something which is needed, as it's not found in the example of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So again, Adir, thank you very much, Jazakumullah, a brilliant answer for that. Shahzad Sahib, we're talking about rumors and if things are true or not. And it brings us on to our next question, which is quite an interesting one. We were debating whether or not to have it in the program or not, but indeed it's a question and we want to answer all the questions that people send in. So bear with me when I read this. This is from, this comes from Huddersfield. The question is, there are conspiracy theories circulating online with regard to coronavirus and the Illuminati, etc. How should Ahmadis react to such theories?
Yeah, I mean, I've come across many myself as well. One just has to go, just do a quick search on YouTube or online, and you can come up with at least, I think, 10 conspiracy theories within, I think, space of 10 seconds. And when you look at all this, I think it actually makes you appreciate and just realize how fortunate and blessed we are that we have leadership as a community in the form of Khilafat Ahmadiyya. Right from the outset of this, of the outbreak of this virus, Hazur Anwar Ayatollah Ta'ala bin Nasir Aziz, may Allah strengthen his hand, has been guiding the community on what the precautionary measures should be taking, advising the medication that we should be taking, the homeopathic medication. Hazur has been in light of the Holy Quran, the traditions and practice of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, and also through the writings and through the example of the Promised Messiah ﷺ, has been guiding the community. And Hazur has explained that our focus at this point in time should be on prayers and prayer alone, because this is the only tool, the only solution that we have. And it's not just for us. Hazur has reminded us time and time again that we should be praying for ourselves, our loved ones, our family, our community, for the whole entire Muslim ummah, and for the mankind in general. This is not the time to be delving into conspiracy theories and blaming each other or finding out who did this or who did not. This is the time that we should be coming together and serving others and praying to Allah the Almighty. That is exactly what the Ahmadiyya Muslim community is doing. Even the Fitrana and Eid UK is an example, for instance. During these very challenging and testing times, the Khuddam brothers are going out and helping the vulnerable, with providing them with medical assistance and food and so on and so forth. So this is the time that we come together, we worship Allah the Almighty even more than before, we pray more than before, we help each other more than ever before as well. Just one point I would like to mention is that in regards to this, the Hazur also mentioned this in his Friday sermon as well, that generally we have seen that the Promised Messiah ﷺ had stated that after his advent, he had warned people that if they do not pay heed to Allah the Almighty and to his message and draw away from Allah the Almighty, there will be a significant increase in the natural calamities and afflictions. And that's what we have been seeing since the advent of the Promised Messiah ﷺ. Now, when we see a tornado or a storm or an earthquake or a tsunami, whatever form the natural may be, it's there for us to see. So there is no conspiracy theory as such. Because this is a virus and, people can hardly see it and it's not around, people are very easily prone to, blaming it on others and saying it's a conspiracy theory. So I think we should just, as Ahmadis, we should be focusing on what the Promised Messiah ﷺ, has stated. He has come in this day and age for the reformation of Muslims and for the revival of Islam. So it's our duty that we must follow his teachings. We must adhere to what he has said. We must give precedence to our faith and establish a relationship with Allah the Almighty and be more inclined to our prayers and serving humanity.
Absolutely. And again, of course, though it's also a teaching within Islam that you should not push on or forward rumors that you have heard without corroborating and finding them out first. This is taught to us by the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And also, of course, hearsay is not like seeing. So unless we have actual proof to our facts to back up what we are saying, then we should abstain from rumors and guessing.
Absolutely.
Mansoor Ziasab, we're coming now towards the end of the show, but I would like to ask one last question, which I think is a very practical one, and many people are asking it in the day-to-day, that for how long can we continue to eat after the Sehri time has passed? I mean, of course, we have the calendar which has been given to us, and we have the timings on there. Are those timings absolute? And how much of a flex can we have within those timings? Mansoor Ziasab.
If we look at the Quran describes very easy to understand guideline for us. It says that whenever there is a twilight, you see a twilight in the horizon. So you at that time you should stop eating. So simple. This is the simple especially in the east when you see that twilight. So this simple instruction by the Holy Quran. But in the Hadith, in Holy Prophet ﷺ has mentioned that if you have started in time, you have started anything eating in that time, you can finish your meal you can finish your drink, what you are drinking. For example, if you are drinking a tea or anything like that. So Holy Prophet ﷺ has explained that any food or any drink you have started during that time, in that time you can finish that drink or food. It won't affect your fast. But if the time has passed, and for example 15 minutes have passed or 10 minutes have passed, so in that case, if you start eating something or drinking something, definitely it would not be allowed during that fast, or your fast will not be continued.
Jazakumullah. Thank you very much, Mubasab. That's all we have time for today. Jazakallah to everyone for sending in your questions, to everyone tuning in at home, and of course to our respected panel of Murabiyan as well. Don't forget to send in your questions via text, audio, or video through WhatsApp, email, or socials, and we will inshallah be live to answer them at the same time next week at 6:45. Until then, Jazakumullah khairan jaza. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Ramadan Mubarak, Ramadan Kareem, Ramadan Mubarak, Ramadan Kareem, Ramadan Mubarak, Ramadan.